The biggest category that we had in Bangladesh then was toilet soaps or skin cleansing as we call it. And the brands were Lux and Lifebuoy. The company had 85% share of the market. And the local competitor came. Name of the brand was Aromatics. And they went to town saying, Lever Brothers, the brand, are made out of tallow. And they alluded to that we're making soap out of pig fat and cow fat.
Leadership is often measured in numbers, but true leadership is revered in choices, especially when they are difficult, uncomfortable, and deeply human. Hello to all, I am Nijesh Shah, director at Sapna Book House and your host at the official author podcast channel SapnaRise. At SapnaRise, our mission is simple yet profound, to inspire a nation through the power of storytelling and the written word. We believe that every story has the potential to ignite change, spark innovation, and build a better future. Today on SapnaRise, we have with us a leader who has shaped not just businesses, but the way leadership itself is practiced across markets, cultures, and crises. Sanjiv Mehta, ladies and gentlemen, is the former chairman and managing director of Hindustan Unilever Limited, and one of the most respected leaders in the global Unilever ecosystem. Over a career spanning multiple countries, from Bangladesh to the Philippines, North Africa and the Middle East, and finally India, he has led businesses through growth, transformation, volatility, and moments that truly test character. Under his leadership, HUL created over $60 billion in value. But what sets his journey apart is not just scale or success, it's how those outcomes were achieved, with integrity, purpose, and a deep respect for people and society. Sanjiv has recently captured this remarkable journey in his new book, A CEO's Brew, stirred with passion, purpose, and ambition, where he introduces a powerful idea, Humbition, ambition grounded in humility. In this conversation, we go beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. We talk about becoming a CEO early and unlearning fast, leading through crises like the Arab Spring and COVID-19, transforming a legacy organization in a complex country like India, making ethical choices when purpose and profit don't align, and reflecting honesty on leadership, legacy, and life beyond titles. This is not just a conversation for CEOs, it's for anyone who aspires to lead with clarity, courage, and conscience. Sanjiv, it's an absolute honor and privilege for you to be part of this wonderful podcast. It's an honor to be hosting you. Thank you for joining us.
Delighted, Nijesh, and my greetings to your listeners and viewers. Absolutely a pleasure to be here.
Lovely. So, sir, my first question to you is to start off on the book. The journey and all that you've achieved is something we'll get to. But why this book today? How should the reader look at this book? Is it a memoir? Is it an autobiography? Are these lessons you want to bring about to young entrepreneurs or leaders? Why this book?
Nijesh, the seed of writing a book happened sometime in 2008 when I was chairman of Unilever Philippines, and I was moving to as the chairman of Unilever North Africa and Middle East. And we just had a remarkable victory in Philippines in one of the largest categories. And my counterpart, our arch rivals, Procter & Gamble, the CEO of P&G in Philippines, invited me to speak to his people and share my leadership thoughts. That's when I think the seed that one day I should write my book took shape. It took time to germinate. I didn't have time. And over the years, I've been very fortunate that I had the privilege and the honor to lead multiple countries for Unilever. And the reason why I got down to writing this book is, first, I believe that knowledge is one thing that if you share, it doesn't dwindle. In fact, it increases.
How true.
The second is, I'm a big believer in compassionate capitalism. Yeah. I believe that capitalism is perhaps the best way or the least worst way
Okay.
of allocating scarce resources and to get the best out of people. But capitalism on its own has to be embellished with compassion.
Okay.
And the third is, I was keen to share the concept of ambition.
Wow.
Yeah. I firmly believe that there is infinite capacity in each human being, and we should never limit ourselves. So we should have fierce ambition, but it should be tempered and cooled by the anchor of humility. And when you have humility and ambition come together, it becomes a very potent combination. So I wanted to share the concept with the readers, and the way I have done it, it's a bit like a travel log, yeah, taking the readers to different places. But I wanted the book to be exciting, not just for a seasoned CEO, not just for a C-suite executive who is itching to be the next CEO, but to a student, to anyone who is interested in the world of business and management, and anyone who wants to learn that how business can be a force for good. Yeah, so that's what made me pen my thoughts or key in my thoughts.
Right. Well, I think I do resonate with what you say, because I've got the opportunity to go through your book from the last day or two. And I do believe that this has much more, many lessons than an MBA class. And fortunate enough to sit with you and to all the viewers and audience, that by the end of this session, there's so much that we're going to be taking back in terms of learnings, in terms of stories, which we'll get to, in terms of crisis management, in terms of all that you have achieved, making HUL what it is today. So congratulations on that, and once again an honor to be sitting with you.
Thank you, Nijesh. I've also been very fortunate, I must tell you.
So let's go back a little before your time with HUL.
Yeah,
You were with the Union Carbide.
that's right.
You were part of the crisis management team.
That's right.
In the very infamous and unfortunate Bhopal gas tragedy.
That's right.
So if you could throw some light as to how did that happen,
Yeah,
and what are the learnings? I believe that despite it being such an unfortunate scenario, for you personally, it would have been a great learning opportunity.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Union Carbide was my first job. And I loved the company.
Right.
Yeah, it was a conglomerate. It had different divisions. And I remember my experience, my formative years, and they were absolutely fabulous. Most unfortunate, what happened in Bhopal. And it was a crisis of huge proportions, no question about that. And as a young 24-year-old, I was sent to Bhopal to be part of the crisis team. And I do tell people that that was a moment, that was a period when a boy became a man.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw crisis at close quarters. I saw the various dimensions, the legal dimension happening, the investigations happening, closing down of agriculture products division, separating people, yeah, and rehabilitating as well. I also saw the politics happening around it. I also saw the role of the parent company, the role of a subsidiary company. So there were different dimensions around it. And while it was a tragedy of huge proportions, I don't think any 24-year-old could have got Nijesh a better opportunity to learn.
And you had, I think, Mr. Vijay as the chairman of.
Mr. Vijay Gokhale was the
Gokhale.
chairman and managing director, and
How was the interaction with him when you joined?
I'll tell you
What were
something.
the learnings that you had?
An amazing leader, and I still remember various interactions with him. But I'll just share with you one incident. This is much after I had moved on from Bhopal. Then I'd become accounting and finance head of chemicals and plastic division, which was India's first naphtha cracker, which I was then very closely involved with the divestiture of that as a going concern, which was one of the biggest deals which happened that
Right.
year, way back in 1987. And then after heading corporate finance, I moved to sales and marketing. Now, not often you pick up a person with a finance background. I'm a chartered accountant by
Right.
training and a proud CA. And you pick them up and you move them into a sales role. This is not finance for sales. It's a sales head
Right.
of one of their major branches, Bombay branch. And just to convey the message that Sanjiv is moving into the sales role with my blessings. On the first day of when I took over as the sales manager of Bombay branch, Mr. Gokhale accompanied me to the branch. Yeah, that was, I think, a great example of a leader
And back
backing
then
you
you
up.
were 24-year-old. That's it.
That time I was about,
Much.
24 is when I was in Bhopal.
Right.
Then after that, I did the role in chemicals and plastics. I did a role in corporate finance. I would be about that time 28, 29.
Still very young, and for
Yes,
the chairman to walk you down to the branch.
that's right. And he was an amazing leader. I still remember Nijesh. I think if I am not wrong, it was Business World who had interviewed us. And one of the questions they asked is, why are you guys hanging around? And I was very clear when I answered, it's not because we don't have alternatives. Any day I could leave and join any other company. But we were there because in many ways it was a loyalty to Mr. Gokhale.
Gokhale.
We wanted to be around to help him because he was a great individual and a great leader. And one wanted to see that he's able to save the company.
Very interesting. So how did Unilever happen then?
So
And if I'm
Union
not wrong, you were
Carbide.
in Dubai in your first post.
So Union Carbide then decided to leave India.
Right.
And I was very clear, I'm not going to leave my future in the hands of owner whom I don't know. So I was very clear that I'll leave. I won't hang around. And I remember there was a gentleman who headed management development for Union Carbide then, a gentleman called Arvind Matgaonkar.
Okay.
He reached out to his counterpart in Hindustan Unilever. It was then called Hindustan Unilever, and would have said, here is a guy, would you be interested in having? And so Naren Nanda was the gentleman who called me up one day, and we met in Bombay Gymkhana. And he offered me a role in the commercial function in one of the factories. by that time I'd moved on from simple accounting and finance, and I was very clear I wanted to remain in business. So I thanked him and said no, I wouldn't be interested because I was more keen to have a business role. And then headhunters reached out to me that Unilever is coming onshore in Arabia. Would you be interested in it? And my immediate reaction was no, because that time my perception was that mainly electrician and plumbers go to the Middle East. And though I respect them a lot for the skill they possess, but I thought, that's not where I would want to have my future. Then after a few days, I had Narendra again call me up and say, Sanjiv, why don't you go and take a look? And he said that you have a holiday here in India on Saturdays and Sundays. In Dubai, they work. Those days, Thursday and Friday, they used to be out.
Yes.
So I, in many ways, reluctantly went to Dubai. And I landed there on a Saturday morning. And I remember Craig Sharples, a bespectacled Englishman, came to receive me. He took me to the country club, and we had lunch over there. Then he took me to the offices, and over the next day and a half, I had a series of meetings with different directors over lunch, breakfast, dinner, and it was old school hospitality at its best. And when I went to the office was humming with energy.
Okay.
I'm always a big believer in the smell of a place.
That's interesting. We've heard the smell of books.
Yes. You go to a place and you get a vibe of energy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And you get it. Man, this is a place which is growing, where you have people who are full of zest, energy. And that's what it was. And for Unilever, it was a very big bet.
Right.
Because Unilever was coming onshore several years after P&G had already come onshore to Middle East. And what Unilever had done, picked up managers from over 30 countries and got them to Arabia to kickstart the operation.
Wow.
So it was an exciting phase. And so I was impressed with the excitement in office, the energy in office, and with the old school hospitality. So we had just got married, Mona and I. We remember when I came back, we were discussing. And one day we took a boat ride to Elephanta Caves.
Okay.
And on the boat, we started listing down the pros and cons
of the Middle East.
And Mona was a corporate banker. She was working with HSBC. So we said, let's not both of us quit our job and go. I'll go first. And if things work out well, in a couple of months, I'll tell Mona to join me. So it was October of 92 when I landed in Dubai. And within a week, I told Mona, quit and come over.
You didn't have to wait for a month or two also.
Absolutely. And that's when my journey started with this great company called Unilever.
So I think here is one management lesson or life lesson, is that you took a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Had you not taken the chance, you wouldn't be talking today.
If you look at my life, and you'll see it as the book progresses, I've taken various risks. Yeah. Going to Bhopal.
Right.
Yeah. Is moving to sales and marketing. It's all risk.
Right.
And I believe that risk and rewards go together.
So, sir, you start off the book not in India. You start off writing about your story from Bangladesh or in Bangladesh. why do you start your story in Bangladesh? How did Bangladesh happen? You were in Dubai,
That's right.
well settled,
That's right.
doing well with
That's
Unilever
right.
Group in
That's
the Middle
right.
East,
That's right.
and then you take the plunge into a country
That's right.
which had an economic turmoil, which was not stable, but then you took that chance and risk. Can you walk us through your journey in Bangladesh
Yeah.
and how did you go about, taking
Yeah.
reins of the country?
That's right. I start writing the book from the time the then boss of Unilever Arabia, a gentleman called Tom Stevens, he came to me. This was early in 98. And he said, Sanjiv, by end of the year, we should get you a board level position. And I was, of course, excited. And within a few months, Tom came back and said that a board position is opening up in Unilever. In Lever, it used to be called then Lever Brothers
Right.
Bangladesh. But the business is in dire straits. And he said, feel absolutely free to say no, and we'll find another opening for you. And Mona and I discussed, and we said, this is the first board level position that's coming my way. I shouldn't say no without exploring it. So we went on a recce trip. And that time we had our little girls. We are twin daughters, Naina and Roshni. And Mona, and we flew down to Bangladesh. And this was around August of 1998. And I still vividly remember when Emirates flight was landing in Dhaka, there was water everywhere except the strip. It was the worst flood in the history of Bangladesh then.
Right.
And from there we took a propeller aircraft and went to Chittagong. Lever Brothers Bangladesh was headquartered in Chittagong. And we saw the business. And the business did its best to entice me to join them. Yeah. But the business was in shambles. We were losing market shares in the biggest category at an amazing pace. It was hurtling downwards. And when you stop growing, stop making money, you can again sense it and feel it. And people were leaving the company. And here we were coming from a good environment in Dubai. We had settled in well. Mona had again got a job with HSBC
In
Dubai. And we had a wonderful ecosystem to look after our little girls. And uprooting the girls. And I was also conscious that Mona might have to leave her job. And coming to Chittagong was a big risk. And the risk was not only for my wife, for my kids, but also for my career. Because if we are not able to help save the company, then my career might go down the Bay of Bengal. So I was, let me put it, not very enthusiastic of taking the job. Yeah. And on our way back to Dubai, Mona and I were conversing. And I still remember Mona putting a question to me when I said I'm reluctant to accept the job. But she said, Sanjiv, where in your life would you get a chance to turn around a Unilever company? And that completely changed the perspective from a challenge to an opportunity. And so we accepted the job. And I also remember that the business group president, when he was briefing me about Bangladesh, alluded to that they were looking at various options for the company if you are not able to turn it around.
So you had a risk already
It was
before you
a
start.
massive risk.
Yeah.
But again, you know, if you look at business, business entails risk, and risk entails failures.
Right.
Yeah. But without taking those risks, you would never be able to succeed.
Right.
And I think in many ways, same goes with the career.
Oh, very, very well pointed out. You mentioned about Mona's role in couple of pointers. One during your time in Dubai and now in Bangladesh. How important was the support system for you?
Massive. I owe a lot to her.
Right. And it takes a great man to really give the credit to the woman.
Oh, absolutely. I'm blessed. And I'm blessed because one is I was born to the parents I was born to. And I come from a quintessential Indian middle class family. Yeah. And the two things which my parents gave me, one is a good set of education,
Right.
and the second is a great set of values. And then I married a wonderful girl. Yeah, I believe she's the most beautiful woman in the world,
I'm sure.
the smartest, and she's been my anchor.
No, I mean it's shown across your stories, and you acknowledged her in multiple ways and in multiple places, which is phenomenal. So, moving on to Bangladesh now, you took over the reins of Unilever Bangladesh, and you knew that the economy was not doing good, though there was good consumption power, but because of the volatility of the country itself, your position and the market share was depleting compared to competitors. So, in the entire scenario where the trust was an issue, loyalty was an issue, new brands market strategy could have been an issue. How did you, or what are the strategies you applied to hold on to these things?
Yeah, this is a great marketing story of a debacle.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest category that we had in Bangladesh then was toilet soaps or skin cleansing, as we call it. And the brands were Lux and Lifebuoy.
Right.
And the company had 85% share of the market, basically owning the market.
Right.
And a local competitor came. The name of the brand was Aromatics.
Okay.
And they went to town saying, Lever Brothers brands are made out of tallow. And they alluded to that we're making soap out of pig fat and cow fat. Pig fat was anathema to the majority Muslims,
Absolutely.
and cow to the minority Hindus. And we got decimated. Yeah. Within a period of 4 years, our market share from 85. Remember, in FMCG, we fight for 100 bits of market share. Katal ho jata hai.
One BPS.
From 85 share, we came down to low 30s. So it was a complete disaster for the company. But if you look at it, at the heart of this, the problem was the complacency that you own the market and you couldn't do any wrong. Second is, we weren't in touch with the consumers to understand that how we could trip and fall. And the reality also was that we were overpriced and our soap quality wasn't the best.
Okay.
So it's a classic case where complacency pulls down the market leader. And here came a disruptor and completely disrupted the market. Yeah. So that was the scenario there. And I went there as a commercial director, and in 2002 early, I took over as the chairman. So for us, the task was first is to slow, stop and reverse the decline.
Right.
Yeah. We had no option but to change the formulation. And we did intensive research to find out what exactly the consumer wanted. And in terms of the product quality, in terms of sensorials, the perfume, the lingering effect, everything put together. And we changed the formulation. But we also knew that when you lose this kind of market shares, you're not going to regain them overnight.
short
In
time,
fact, getting back to 85 was virtually impossible. Because seeing aromatics succeed, many other brands had come into the market with a similar kind of story. Yeah, using vegetable oils.
Right.
So to grow the business, we had to get into other categories. And getting into other categories also entailed risk. And I still remember when I was a commercial director, we had identified an opportunity that the government gave a lot of tax incentives if we were to set up a new factory.
Okay.
So we had made a proposal that why don't we set up a personal products factory? And the chairman then, John Fonsi, wasn't very enthusiastic about it.
Chairman of Bangladesh.
Of
Unilever.
Bangladesh. And he was my predecessor. I was the commercial director.
Right.
And his concerns were legit. He felt that we are in a mess. How will Unilever allow us to set up and invest money in setting up another factory? And my pitch to him was, let us make this proposal centered to a turnaround. And let us make the proposal so attractive that the approver will hesitate to say no. Yeah. No करने की भी ताकत चाहिए ना. Make it so strong. So we had a very aggressive proposal. High IRR, 25% IRR. And we sent it to the center. And it got approved. And we named the project Sankalp.
Sankalp in Bangladesh. Wow.
Determination.
Right.
And that again was the beginning of the turnaround.
Very interesting. And I think now is the right time to bring about the word that you have invented out of your experience. Humbition. The ambition to succeed and grow with the humility. I think Bangladesh really brought about, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That was when the word Humbition,
Right.
yeah, it started coming together.
Right.
I think I coined it a bit later, but the very fact, the understanding that first you need to have a fierce ambition to succeed. Yeah. But that fierce ambition has to be tempered and anchored by humility.
Right.
If you aren't humble, you won't have the courage to say, I went wrong. If you aren't humble, you won't be a learner. And if you don't have the courage to say you were wrong and you're a learner, you will never be able to grow.
No, very interesting because do you think leaders, when they rise, without the humility part or the humility angle, they tend to fall faster, or with the ambition and the drive that they have, it may not be necessary to have humility as long as the numbers are growing.
You could still have a person
Right.
who doesn't have humility and still succeed. Yeah,
We've seen quite a few cases.
absolutely.
Yes.
But look at it from a lens today that in a fast changing world, yeah, the era of great moderation is over and we are facing rapid changes. And if you're not a learner, you'll get fossilized.
Right.
If you don't reskill and upskill yourself, you'll get left behind. And if you're highly successful and not humble, arrogance comes in.
Well said. Yes.
And who better than the Greeks to teach us about hubris? Right?
Right.
And the road today is littered with companies and CEOs who didn't learn from the mistake and who did not have the humility to accept they have gone wrong. We must accept, Nijesh, that as CEOs, we won't have answers for everything. We're not even expected to have answers. In fact, I believe that a CEO should be good in asking questions and not to portray that you know it all. Yeah. I would very often be the last person to express my views in the room because I knew that if I express it too fast, I may sway the judgment.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if you have to get the best out of people, you need to have diversity of counsel.
Right.
And if you are an arrogant leader, people will hesitate to express their views, which are not in sync with your views. What is the point of having a great team if you can't get the best out of them?
So tell me, in your journey, again drawing back to the word that you have coined, was there a part where you accelerated your ambition into doing something, but certain circumstances made you pause and made you reflect into the societal or the people or the humility angle?
Oh,
Was there
very
any
clear.
example?
I'll give you something that I believe that the role of the business has to be much bigger than just making money. Yeah? Similarly, just like business needs to have a bigger purpose, similarly, an individual needs to have a bigger purpose in life beyond making money. And it was Charles Darwin who said the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you realize why you were born. Yeah. So thankfully, I worked for a company like Unilever, which was purpose-driven and values-led. And it was a big believer that as a business, your role should be much bigger than, and making profit should be a result of doing the right things for the consumers, the customers, your employees, your suppliers, the environment, and the society. Yeah. So in all my years, I've never told my people that the objective in life is to make billions of dollars of market cap. No. Do the right things and the valuation happens. But even before this, I think the values, remember I talked about my parents?
Right.
My dad often used to say, don't measure success with the money you have in the bank. Measure it with the impact you have on others.
No, fantastic, because the book also is a toast, is an acknowledgement, is a dedication to your parents.
Absolutely.
That's what
Absolutely.
you've also written before
Absolutely.
you forward.
You know, my parents are no longer alive, but I still pray to them every day.
Kudos to you. I'm sure they're blessing you, and
I believe,
the blessings are seen.
Nijesh, I believe that one of the biggest assets I've had is my parents' blessing.
So coming from Bangladesh
Yeah,
to Philippines, which was a much bigger market,
that's right.
a much matured market,
Absolutely.
and it was a market with less turmoil, if I can put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
So what were the learnings of Bangladesh that you had, in your journey into Philippines, and how was Philippines different from Bangladesh?
Sure. You know, first important thing, Nijesh, was that in the deltaic plains of Bangladesh is where I really learned why leadership. Yeah. Leadership is not something, it's like swimming. You can't learn by reading a book. Yeah. You have to be in the pool.
Yes.
And turning around Bangladesh Unilever and then making it into one of the most admired and respected companies in the country ingrained in me and in many ways helped me identify and build my leadership thoughts. So when I went to Philippines,
Right.
I was a much more confident leader. And we must remember, Nidesh, none of us are born CEOs. Yeah. You're given a role, you learn, you stumble.
Was
you
this a
fall.
decision again with Mona and yourself to
Oh,
move
we
into
always take a decision together. And one thing we were very clear in life, that we will always be together. It doesn't happen that Mona would go back to Dubai and I'll go to Philippines. No, we said wherever we go together. And Philippines is a wonderful place. It is, in many ways, a Goa plus plus.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's an amalgam of church and Hollywood.
Okay, interesting.
Philippines is a country which was twice ruled by foreigners, for 300 years by the Spaniards and then by the Americans.
Right.
Yeah. So they are very Catholic and they are very American at the same time. And going from Bangladesh to Philippines was a big change.
Big shift.
In every which way.
Of course, yeah.
From a culture perspective. Now the business here was not in turmoil. It was a big business. It was a profitable business. But it was a business which I would label it as being satisfactorily underperforming.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't performing to its potential. And the previous 5 years, if you take the targets, the top line and the bottom line, say 2 targets for a year, so 5 years, 5 into 2, 10 targets, I think the business had delivered only once, 1 out of 10. Yeah. But it wasn't in dire straits. It was underperforming. So there, I had also started mentally codifying what it takes to build a high-performing company.
Okay.
But I had only experienced the Bangladesh. So I had to try out different things. And but
Because
I
I
had
think
my
from
thoughts.
packaging to pricing to product development, everything would be different.
Oh, it was.
It's not like, okay, I have a product in Bangladesh.
The
I just
first most
get
important
everything
thing is
into
culture.
Right.
Yeah. Is Bangladesh is a South Asian country, predominant Islamic. Yeah. Whereas there, it was a Catholic country, much more liberal, very American. And Procter & Gamble
Had a market share already.
was a bigger company than
Right.
Unilever. So we were the number 2 guys over there. And the biggest category over there was hair care. And, when I go to any new place, I spend several weeks in India. When I came back, it was months, in fact, getting into the depth of the business. Yeah. Not just understanding from the people, the wins, the losses, the history of the brands, but very importantly, understanding the culture, meeting consumers, meeting suppliers, meeting competitors to get a deep understanding. So while doing this in Bangladesh, one thing became apparent that in the hair category, in the shampoo
category, you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, P&G was the big leader.
Right.
And they had about 1100 bips of lead over us, 11 share points. They were 42 and we were 31. And the reason behind the leadership was that they had a brand called Head and Shoulders, which was an anti-dandruff, and we had no presence in anti-dandruff. And Unilever at that time was launching clear shampoo in many parts of the world, but Philippines was not there in the launch plans. So one of the thoughts that immediately came up to my mind was, should we launch clear in Philippines? Yeah, but it was not there in the plans. And so I went to the Asia president, a fabulous gentleman called Harish Manwani. And I told Harish that, Harish, here's an opportunity. And Harish said, Sanjiv, it's not in the plans. And taking on P&G is going to take you a lot of money. Why don't you first focus on getting onto a good start, and we can then later on see whether we have the capacity and the business can take on P&G in this highly competitive battle. So then I rallied the team and we had a good start, good first quarter. Then I went back to Harish. And Harish said, it's not in the plans, but I can give you X sum of money only. Would you be able to fund it? But I was very clear, in this competitive battle, you can't go with a half-funded plan.
Yeah, you need vitamin M,
Completely. So I went to my team. I said, guys, there is an opportunity. Yeah. But we're not going to get profit relief for the entire investment that we need. It was running into millions of euros.
Right.
We'll have to self-fund it. Self-fund it means rest of the business would have to do much better than what we have planned. Are you guys willing? I gave them some 24, 48 hours. The team went back and came back and said, let's go for it. Now remember, taking on a market leader in a fiercely competitive category is not a joke. But we said, and it can't be testing the water with the toes. Huh?
Absolutely, yes.
If you do it, it has to be a full body immersion.
Yes.
So we said, okay, let's do it. So we planned the launch of Clear. And in July, and this had to be very secretive. Because if the plans leak out, they would take steps to ensure that we won't be able to execute our plans. So we used to keep changing the code name of the project. And even once the product started rolling out from the factory, the outer carton had a different product name. So that people don't know there is Clear shampoo inside. But we had a great young team, full of passion, drive, energy, the desire and hunger to succeed. And my job was to unlock that genie. Yeah, to make them dream and dream big, to see, as Narayan Murthy used to say, plausible impossibility. And we launched it in July. And the way we executed it, with granular planning, that the night before the launch, Clear was nowhere. When P&G slept, Clear was nowhere. When they got up in the morning, Clear was everywhere. So we had thousands of people work night to ensure that the merchandise, the bottles are there on the shelf. And we had taken decoy. Yeah, we had not taken the shelf space and the Clear name, but some other brand. And then we executed it. And whether it was marketing or customer development or supply chain, put the best foot forward. Aggressive marketing, massive sampling, and telling the consumers basically, hey guys, 44% of Filipinos still have dandruff. What was the market leader doing? And it was, I believe, one of the biggest marketing victories over arch rivals. By October, we launched it in July. We had taken over shampoo leadership, and before end of the year, Clear had dethroned Head and Shoulders, who had 16, 17 shares as the market leader.
I mean, this is plausible, just fantastic.
We have street battles, we have hand-to-hand combat. In consumer goods, fast-moving consumer goods, very competitive category. But what I have detailed is the kind of planning that went behind it, the audacious goals, the way we executed, the power of execution. You know, I believe strategy is a commodity. The differentiator is execution.
It's like saying that an idea is only an idea not worth if it's not really executed well.
Absolutely.
There's no point having that idea.
Absolutely. And not only we won the battle of shampoo, but very importantly, it gave the self-belief back to the team.
Wow.
The biggest thing, mind over matter. Before you win in the marketplace, you have to win the battle mind.
You've mentioned that. In fact, I want to ask you, was this when you've mentioned the phrase, catching the market by its tail? So a little bit about that, as to what does this phrase really mean to you, the impact that it had in your strategy and execution?
Yeah. In Bangladesh itself, I had started codifying what it takes to become a high-performing company. Yeah. And the three axes, which over the years I've been able to codify, first is the mindset. Second axis is capability. And the third is performance and not me. Yeah. In the mindset, first most important is the growth mindset. The belief that be it summer or winter, rain or
Sunshine.
we can grow. That's the most important bit. The second very important thing for a professional organization is owner's mindset. You have to behave and act like an owner and not like a babu. Yeah. And once you can instill the growth mindset and the owner's mindset in your team, then magic happens. And the second is capabilities. The capabilities have to be distinctive and hard to replicate. If they are not distinctive and hard to replicate, you won't get a competitive edge. Anyone can do it. It won't be a moat. And the third axis is performance management. how you craft strategy, the fetish for execution, talent management, the culture in the business. That's what makes a difference.
Very, very interesting, very well said, and so much of learning in the few words that you just said. You had Philippines and you had Bangladesh before, and after Philippines you had North Africa and Middle East. I always believe that great leader is defined not when the ship is sailing in calm waters. It's when there's a lot of storm.
Turbulent weather.
Turbulent weather. So Philippines was not as turbulent as Bangladesh, but thereafter, the Middle East, North Africa, how was it there? And what made you move to this part of the world?
So, after this great victory in Philippines, where we did remarkably well, we gained shares, we grew margins, top line. I got this opportunity to go back to Middle East.
Right.
But this time, it was not Unilever Arabia, the company which I had left. Because when I'd left, there were 3 companies in that region.
Right.
Unilever Arabia, Unilever Mashriq, and Unilever Maghreb.
Right.
Yeah. This time they said they had just formed a region. So I was chairman of the region, North Africa, Middle East.
Right.
And there were 20 countries. From Oman in the east to Morocco in the west. And
everything in the middle.
And I used to joke, CNN countries in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or BBC.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the difference here was Bangladesh and Philippines were single country companies.
Right. So single culture and
I could put my arms around it.
Right.
Yeah, I knew everything about everything. Everything about brand, about operating efficiencies of a production line. But here are 20 countries. And from Dubai to Casablanca, the flying time was 9 hours. Yeah. It is easier to reach Paris than to reach Casablanca. You can't run a business by putting your arms around it. Yeah. So one is, how do we organize ourselves?
Right.
So that we run this 20 countries with the soul of one company. That was the first challenge. Yeah. So I've described the challenges I had in putting the structure and the framework together, including to convincing my boss.
I think we like to hear that story, which is mentioned in the book too.
And how do we ensure that there is focus as well as we get the benefit of scale?
Right.
Yeah. So these were the first challenges. Now, in 2008, when I had just taken over, we had the global financial crisis.
Yes.
Yeah. And markets like Dubai took a massive
hit. Yeah.
How do we navigate the global financial crisis? And when we were just getting into having implemented the new structure and coming out of the global financial crisis, we were thinking that, okay, now good days are coming. When suddenly you had the Arab Spring.
Yes.
And Arab Spring, those who are interested in history would recall that it started with the self-immolation of a fruit vendor in Tunis.
Yes.
And then it spread to across the region.
Right.
And it spread like wildfire.
Pro-democracy against the government.
Absolutely.
Right.
And imagine managing the business then, looking after the people, and still ensuring that we keep growing. And this was a crisis of huge proportions. Yeah. I still remember in Egypt, there was a period when even the police had vacated the barracks. No banks were open. No markets were open. There was complete mayhem and chaos. And leading. At the end of the day, one must remember that being the head of the company comes first and foremost with huge responsibility. You're responsible for the lives and safety and well-being of not just the people who work directly in your company, but in the ecosystem and their families. So we had to do that. And we took many counterintuitive steps. But the principle that I followed and which has become part of me is we look after the people,
People look after you.
and people will look after the business. And that's what happened. When many multinationals would allude to that the impact of the global results have been because of the problem in Middle East, we kept growing double digit.
I think this is when you also double up the production despite
Distribution.
Yes.
We went counterintuitive. When the country was closed, I'll tell you a story. I called up my managing director in Egypt, in Mashriq, and a wonderful gentleman called Khalid Fayed. And I told Khalid, we need to make an aggressive plan. He first started laughing. Said, the country is shut, and what aggressive plan will we make? So I said, no, Khalid, go and do it. So Khalid came back with a plan, which was aggressive, but not what I wanted. There were just a couple of million more spends. So I said, no, Khalid, I want real aggression. And don't worry. If we win, the credit is yours. If we lose, the responsibility is mine. And I'll fund it from rest of the region. I want you to be aggressive. So there was a period of time when you open the television, besides the news, the only advertising you would see would be Unilever.
Wow.
Yeah. People were shrinking distribution, we were expanding distribution. But the most important bit was when banks were closed, we went to the wholesalers and distributors and collected money from them in cash. And they were happy to give it to us because they owed us the money, and they were happy to give to us because they were worried about the safety of cash. We took it to offices and factory, made envelopes, and went and distributed it not just to our own workers, but also to our distributors' sales force. And we went to the wholesalers and used the cash to buy food. We got it to the factories. And we told our people, whoever runs out of food,
Come to us.
come to the factory and collect it. When looters started burning factories,
You're opening up.
nothing happened to us because
You're taking care of the people.
our workers on their own accord would do duty to protect the factory. We didn't have to tell them.
How can this be a podcast? This is a management class. This is amazing. I mean, you have fought the entire system because the system was going in one direction.
Absolutely.
And you
We did
decided
completely
to
counterintuitive things.
do things very differently.
So it was a risk, but it was a considered risk.
Has any risk of yours not ever paid? Because everything that we talk about and the
They're
risk
happy.
appetite that you have.
You know, I'll tell you something. In consumer goods, fast-moving consumer goods, 7 out of 10 launches don't succeed. And the 3 which succeed, 70% of them don't succeed the first time. So we have a high risk of failure. So I've failed in many things. Sometimes I've also failed in appointments, making the wrong choice. So failures have been there. But you know something? For me, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a stepping stone to success. And if you don't fail, you're not stretching yourself. So I'm never afraid of failures. But I only tell my teams, guys, don't fail doing the same thing. अगर fail होना है,
नई चीज में fail हो.
नई चीज में fail हो.
No, I'm very interested to talk to you about certain controversies that HUL had in India. And as a leader, I think it's important for us to get this out on a debate on the table. But before we get there, from the Middle East, North Africa, a lot of things you've written in the book which we'll leave the leaders to read. But from this podcast point of view, let's move to India. Your last leg, right, as the managing director and chairman of HUL. You've mentioned a very interesting strategy called winning in many Indias.
Yeah.
I'd like you to please throw some light on this,
Yeah.
because unlike your regions that you worked, right, India in itself is a country with many countries.
So I'll tell you something. When I came here, I started my deep dives. And even my deep dives, before I came to India, I had written a letter to each of the board members, managing committee members, that, hey guys, this is what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which generally what happens when a new boss comes in, you only want to show the good picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know the real story.
Real story.
Yeah. The good and the bad. The rich and the poor. And I wanted to see in all its dimensions. And I traveled a lot, met a lot of people, including competitors, to understand that what do we need to do. And our global CEO, Paul Pullman, when he met me in Dubai a few months before I came to India, had given me 3 briefs. He said one was, Sanjiv, you need to improve the competitiveness of the India company.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second, he said that Unilever in India was margin dilutive to the global Unilever. And he said, you will be growing faster than global Unilever. And because your margins are dilutive, it has a double whammy on the global results. And the third thing he said was, can you make the company ready for the new world? So when I came here and traveled around, and that time Mona was still in Dubai, she had not moved the first 6 months. And I remember it was the Christmas vacation of 2013 when I'd gone home, and Mona was discussing with me about what my initial feel about HUL and India. Now, I had remained in touch with India.
Right.
Wherever we were. When people used to come to India, I used to tell them, okay, I'll get the business magazines or get India Today and Business World, so that I would keep
I'm
myself
sure you would
abreast.
also tell them, get the Indian food, the parathas.
वो तो मिल
pickles
जाता था. And that used to be a problem in Philippines.
in Philippines.
Yeah. And so I was aware of it. But the penny drop moment for me was when I realized that the 20 countries in Middle East, North Africa had more in common than the 28, 29 states of India.
Right.
Yeah. There it was one predominant religion, one predominant pan-Islamic Arabic culture.
Right.
हमारे यहाँ भाषा अलग है, खाना अलग है, yeah, the per capita income vary a lot. And India is not a homogeneous country. India is a heterogeneous country. So I was describing this to Mona, and she said, that means you will have to win in many Indias.
Was this the phrase that she coined? Wow.
So that's the birth of winning in many Indias.
Can you give us a story?
So winning in many Indias, what we did was, we said we can't be looking at India as one homogeneous entity. We're doing disservice to our consumers. Let us break up India. But if you break up India into too many parts, you lose focus. If you break up India into a few parts, then you won't get the benefit of many. So we had consumer and market insights do a huge amount of work. And ultimately we settled for 14 clusters.
Okay.
And for each of these clusters, we had a separate strategy.
Okay. So you had 14 clusters for 28, 29 states.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a separate strategy. And just to give you the audience and the listeners, what winning in many India means, that if you say today pick up red label tea, Brook Bond red label, same pack size, pack graphics, but the blend inside is different depending on
your cluster.
The cluster.
Wow.
Yeah. Now we must realize कि अगर आप पंजाब में जाओ, in Punjab, they add tea to milk and not milk to tea. दूध पीने वाले लोग.
You're also Punjabi. So.
बिल्कुल. But if you go to UP, they want strong tea.
Strong tea, yeah.
So you require different blends for different parts of India. If you take Surf Excel, same pack graphics, the formulation inside is different depending on the hardness of the water. So अगर आप और किधर से सर्फ एक्सेल ले आए बैंगलोर और बोलने लगो कि यार ये हमारा अभी क्लीन नहीं हो रहा, it will not, because it's meant for a different place.
Wow.
You pick up Lux.
And this was not the case in Philippines or Middle East or Bangladesh. Wow.
No. If you pick up Lux, same white soap,
right?
But the perfume inside is different depending on the consumer preference. Yeah.
So this is complex. This is really
very complex. And of course, the communication was different. Yeah. Now, generally speaking, in management, they will teach you, don't bring in complexity.
Absolutely. Simplicity is the key.
Yeah. But my take on complexity is, it's a bit like cholesterol.
Good one.
There's a good cholesterol, the high density lipoprotein, and a bad cholesterol, low density lipoprotein. When it is good cholesterol, a good complexity, learn to manage it. Right? Yeah. But when it's bad complexity, remove it. Now, winning in many Indias was a game changer, and it was a good complexity.
So, before you took the reins of India, the cluster, which I believe is the most important formula in everything and anything that you intended to do, because that's the definition of the market size in India. So it was never the case that there was no cluster.
We had 4 branches.
Was looking at it as one India.
Classical. For 90 years, we had just 4 branches. And we looked at one India. Our strategy was one India. And now just imagine you're telling a brand manager that, hey mate, you have to make 14 strategies.
Was this something that competitors, Nestle, I think, was quite large in India back then?
They tried to emulate us.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think no one has perfected winning in many India the way we did it. It's become a Harvard Business School case study.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have a lecture on that, I believe, in Harvard.
Yeah, and 2 things. During my time, there were 2 case studies done by Harvard Business School on HUL. One was transforming HUL, which was based on winning in many Indias. And the second one was reimagining HUL using data and technology.
And both you tried
Sometimes
and tested in India.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything.
These were all done in India. Homegrown. No consultants.
No Boston consultancy group.
No. It was done by the homegrown great talent of HUL.
Very, very, very impressive, I must say, because it defined the next course for HUL for generations
Absolutely.
ahead.
Absolutely.
And I think this could be one of the most important formulae for achieving the 60 billion valuation that you were able to bring, apart from the 12 already.
That's right. You know, just like I said, you have the three axes of high performing. Yeah. Is the mindset, the capabilities, and the performance anatomy. Similarly, for creating value, you have the growth, the margin, and the capital velocity. Yeah. Now, growth, we took the company from 25,000 crore to 58,000 crore. And just think of it, that the 33,000 crore that we added was more than the total turnover of any other competitor, yeah, in FMCG space. Then we took the margins, we were dilutive to Unilever. We were 13-14%. And by the time I left, we were 500 bips accretive to global Unilever. And we took them up to 25. Then the inflation came in post-COVID and we brought it down. But we still improved our margins by nearly 870 bips. And there were 30 quarters out of 32.
Which was in green.
Where we were improved the margins every quarter.
Wow.
And a capital velocity, with a return on capital employed, on tangible assets were 3 digits. So just think of
This is like
why we created immense value. And in the book I've detailed how we went about creating resources, how we added growth, how we went after market development, yeah, and we brought in unprecedented efficiencies and productivity.
I have no words beyond how impressive this entire conversation is, because so much more in the book, like you rightly said, it's detailed. But these are management lessons which is beyond textbooks. These are experiences, exposures that you yourself as a leader have given to the company. And I'm sure that the ones who are leading the company today, look up to you, and the value creation that you've been able to bring HUL. Absolutely impressive. But I'd like to draw about one or two more questions on certain tough questions on
Sure, please.
on the issues that publicly came about
That's right.
Unilever and the
Yeah.
FMCG.
Please.
And I'm asking them with respect because, your book talks about purpose, integrity, Humbition. So I hope that, we get
Go
your
ahead.
nod on these questions.
Go
So
ahead.
The first is the Kodaikanal mercury issue.
That's
I don't know whether it was in your tenure, whether it was something that you instilled the factory, or did you, again, were part of the crisis management?
Let me give you a bit of history.
Sure.
But I'm glad you raised this question. When Ponds
Right.
merged with Unilever,
Right.
this was way back in the 1990s. And we also acquired a thermometer factory, which belonged to Ponds. And at some stage, it came out that with the scrap, some thermometers were sold which had mercury content in it. So immediately when the company came to know about it, they closed down the factory and informed all relevant authorities. So the company had acted very responsibly. When I came in, I inherited the problem.
Right.
Now we must remember, as a CEO, it doesn't matter
Whether
when
it's
the issue
inherited,
happened.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it, yeah.
You have to deal with it. And that was it. And it was in the interest of the activists to keep it alive.
It's politically driven in most cases.
And for their reason for existence is the problem.
Right.
If the problem goes away,
They are non-existent.
so there was a song and dance video which was on Kodai, which was released, which suddenly drew the attention of everyone. And a matter which was kind of lumbering along suddenly became a big issue. So there were various aspects to it. But the most important thing was for a company like HUL to be and act in the most responsible manner. So we went to the regulators and the government people, and in complete transparency, we told them about the whole case. And we took them into confidence. The second was that despite the fact that there was no evidence of any worker having been harmed by any mercury leakage, we were generous and settled it with all the workers. Okay. So we killed that issue. And then, based on scientific facts, we proposed to the authorities, and whenever it went to the court authorities, of how we would go about remediating the soil. And at every stage there were objections, there were roadblocks put in, and for reasons that I've explained. And we were very clear that we will act responsibly, we'll act in an open and transparent manner, and do what is right. And I'm so happy to tell you that even the soil remediation is now coming to a close.
Well, it's good to hear that, as leader of the organization, you were able to vocally bring out the issue, not hide behind.
Oh, and, absolutely.
Address it in the right way.
Unilever as a company, I always say, is values-led and purpose-driven.
Right.
And we have been a big proponent of that corporations should be taking care of the environment. And if this incident had happened, it was our responsibility to take care of it. And we acted in the most responsible manner.
No, I mean, you've already, spoken about it, and everything is settled now, which is a great thing. But this is one part where we talk about a city or a town or people in the area being involved. But when we talk about the products, right? One of the controversies that I came across was the skin lightening creams, which earlier was promoted as Fair and Lovely, and then you had to change it to Glow and Lovely because of colorism. I'm not using the word racism, but how much of it changed the strategy when you came across these kind of issues?
Yeah. Let me first give you a bit of insight into Fair and Lovely. Yeah. Fair and Lovely is not just sold in India. It's sold in many parts of the world, and certainly in all the countries of South Asia. And this is during my days in Bangladesh. I remember visiting a garment worker's home.
Okay.
And this was a small house. And she was the first person in a family, a woman, a girl, who had left home to work in a town. And she was working in a garment factory. And most of her money that she would earn, a large part of it she would send home. And the balance money she would have, she would use it for her food and clothing. And it was a small room. Yeah. Nothing fancy about it. There was just a bed, not even a cupboard. There was a clothesline on which she would hang her clothes. And there was a mantel on which there was perhaps the best possession, which was a tablecloth. And on that mantel, there were only two things kept: a comb and a tube of Fair and Lovely. And she said, after spending her money, when she would be left with some extra money, the only indulgence she did was buy herself a tube of Fair and Lovely. And when I asked her why Fair and Lovely, and she said it gives her the confidence to step out. Now, I was so proud of that brand. That brand is the first point of entry for millions of women in this part of the world. The first point of entry in the world of beauty.
Right.
Yeah. I also agree that many of the ads that were done in the past, I don't agree with them. Yeah. That you have to be fair to get a better job. I don't agree with it. And but we must remember that brands and companies evolve with the society.
Absolutely.
So when I came in, we had started working on changing the proposition of the brand from Fair and Lovely to Glow, the holistic glow. Yeah. Holistic glow means flawless skin. Yeah. Is smooth, flawless skin. That's what we started working on. So you would see that during my tenure, we had progressed significantly, not even just with the proposition, but also with the communication. Yeah, we had stopped doing that. And then a stage came when we changed the name from Fair and Lovely to Glow and Lovely. So this is not something which was thrusted on us overnight, as many of the people alluded to. No.
You were
This
always
was a very
working
planned moves.
behind, yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad we did it. It's a great product. It was a product designed by the scientists in India. And that same formulation later on was adopted by some of the prestige brands once the patent got over. Yeah. And again, like a responsible company evolving with the society, has changed not just the name, but very importantly, the core proposition and the communication behind the brand.
So I think as a leader, what I've learned from you today is the courage to own when things don't go in the right way, the courage to change when you understand that yes, this is something which needs to change, because you rightly mentioned the evolution of the society, and this is seldom done by other leaders, and that's where the humility comes in, is what I've begun to understand.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
if the ambition is high and if you don't change when you believe, when you know that it's wrong,
That's right.
you continue the path of ambition but destroy the society.
Yeah.
And it's
we
great
must
to
remember that we are an integral part of the society as a business. And the business will prosper if the society prospers.
And you've mentioned in the book also that it's not about companies, it's the relationship and the people that you work with. It's not machines that you interact with.
That's right.
At the end of the day, there's real human relationships.
Exactly.
Wow, I mean, I have so many more questions to ask you, but we are a bit short of time. Let me go towards legacy and the closure of this podcast. What must India do next, according to you? What is your contribution to India beyond HUL?
Yeah. First is, I'm a big believer in the India story. Yeah. I believe that India is on the cusp of greatness. We have a fair share of challenges, there's no question about that. But never in the recent history have we been as well positioned as we are today. Yeah. And I always say that when you look at Viksit Bharat, what our Prime Minister talks about, it doesn't really matter whether we become a developed nation by 2047 or 52 or by 2045. The most important thing that Viksit Bharat has done has changed the mindset of Indians, has brought in a belief that we can become developed nations. Yeah. When we were growing up, the economists used to say that our population is an albatross around a neck. Today, that same population is 1.5 billion consumers.
It's the biggest consumption story in the world.
So I'm a big believer of the India story, and we can talk at length why. And that's the reason why when in 2022, when I was heading FICCI, we invested huge amount of time, involved hundreds of CXOs in articulating the India at 100 strategy, which I then shared with the Prime Minister, who very graciously agreed to write the foreword to that report. And amongst the various things that we need to do is become a product nation. We have to set up innovation ecosystems in the country. Yeah, we have to spend more money on R&D.
Do you think India is not a good sales country? There are so many Indian local brands which have failed to go global.
You're right. So your question is, we haven't built many global brands.
Right.
Yeah. But before we build a global brand, we first need to learn to innovate. And that would imply setting up innovation ecosystems where academia, private sector R&D, public sector R&D, private capital, public capital, all comes together. Yeah. And the next step would be is taking the brands outside India and building global brands. But that's pivotal in our next journey. But if I have to look at it, we have macroeconomic stability, we have political stability, we have the mindset today. We have invested huge amount of money in physical infrastructure and the digital infrastructure. So we have the ingredients to realize our potential.
Wow. So this is a note that we all will take. Your legacy beyond HUL will be the last question that I would like to ask you, because you have set your own legacy in your own right. But now,
let me tell you what's my purpose in life. Yeah, and this is something which I was able to articulate about 15 years back. Is to make heroes out of ordinary people. Yeah, I believe none of us are Einsteins. We're good, reasonably intelligent people, but we're not Einsteins. But I also believe that human beings have infinite capacity. And what we have to do, fortunate people like us, people in a position to influence, is to unlock and unleash and help people realize their potential. So it gives me great joy when I see people who worked with me today occupying CEO's position across corporate India.
That's your way to build leaders.
Absolutely.
That's your way of giving it back to the society.
Absolutely.
The last segment with you, sir, will be a very interesting one for our audience. I mean, you've steered your company from Bangladesh to Philippines to North Africa to the Middle East to the Hindustan Unilever in India. But can you really stir this rapid fire is what we all want to know. So let's brew the rapid fire, and let's see how quick, fast, and creatively can you answer. So the first question to you would be is one word that describes your leadership style today.
Ambition.
And ambition without humility leads to?
Arrogance.
And humility without ambition leads to?
Nowhere.
One habit that separates good CEOs from great ones.
From great CEOs from good ones. I think discipline.
Fantastic. The most underrated leadership skill.
I would still say humility.
True, yes, after reading and listening to you. Career and growth. Your most uncomfortable posting.
Was Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. And growth comes more from strategy or execution.
Strategy is a commodity, execution is a differentiator.
Very well said. Market share or mindset share? What is more important?
Both have to go together.
Fantastic.
But without mindset, market share won't happen.
Similar to strategy and execution. Fantastic. Okay. Purpose is a slogan or a system? In your book, you've mentioned
purpose is belief.
Belief. Okay. One word CEOs misuse the most when talking about values. You spoke about a lot of values today.
Very often, purpose without meaning it.
Okay. The hard thing about being an ethical leader.
You should never open the door.
You should never open the door. Interesting. Short-term pressure or long-term regret? Which scares you the most?
Let's look at it like this. Always should be harder right than the easier wrong.
Harder right than the easier wrong. Wow. Okay. Could be the title of your next book. One thing corporate India gets right today.
The leverage in the balance sheet.
Leverage in the balance sheet. One thing that corporate India gets wrong.
Underspending on R&D.
Wow, this is very interesting, yes. I know the answer to the next one, but for our audience, if not a CEO or a managing director or a chairman, what would you have been?
Truck driver.
Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
You know, when I was young, I was very fascinated with the life of a truck driver. And there's certain romanticism involved in it. When you take a truck, say from Ludhiana, and drive all the way on the Grand Trunk Road to Calcutta, for instance, and there are challenges on the way. You also have a purpose of reaching the destination. And so I was very fascinated with the life of being a truck driver.
I'm glad.
Perhaps my Punjabi blood.
No, but I'm glad you were only fascinated and didn't execute that plan. Because that would have been a big loss to the country at least. Okay, one habit that keeps you grounded outside of work.
My faith.
Okay, towards family, God, institute.
You know, I'm a big believer in Almighty. I'm not ritualistic, but I have a deep faith. And this faith gives me courage. Faith gives me optimism. And faith also impacts my outlook to life.
Wow. Morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
Morning. You sleep 8 hours?
I don't sleep 8. I try to get 7 hours.
7, okay. One thing that helps you switch off from work?
Cricket.
Interesting. A personal value that leadership strengthened in you?
A personal value that leadership strengthened in me. You know, I believe that we're not born leaders. there are many traits
Then,
which we have inculcated and imbibed and learned from many other people. At the end of the day, you need to have your own brand of leadership, but just like a good cup of tea, it has to have ingredients, the right ingredients. It requires heat. You have to go through the challenges. And it requires time. It doesn't happen overnight.
so basically it requires a good brewing of life.
Absolutely.
Any leader that you look up to?
You know, I have never tried to be a clone of a person, but I admire many people.
Okay. Like?
Oh, several. From Mahatma Gandhi onwards. Yeah, Sardar Patel. Business leaders are many. Even Lee Kuan Yew, the way he helped develop Singapore, for instance. And I've been fortunate. I've worked under great leaders. But there's one aspect I would also like to tell you. You don't learn leadership just from people who are senior to you.
Okay.
You also learn leadership from people who are much junior to you.
Very well said. Very well said. And this is something that only great leaders can talk of. And the differential factor between great and good, I think one of them is this, that you learn from everybody around you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And the last three would be a small joy you never compromise on.
My love for my family.
Wow. Which was quite evident, and which is one extra day every day of your life. How would you spend it?
The ideal thing is that if we start with a perspective that every day is your last day, how would you lead it? Life should never be unidimensional. Life should be holistic and multidimensional. That is when it becomes fulfilling and enriching.
Fantastic. And the last and the final question, if your family had to describe you with one word, let's start off with what Mona would say versus what your daughters would.
One word. See, Mona would say dependent.
Okay.
Though I would like her to say romantic. Daughters?
Yeah.
Best dad.
Wow. The best dad, the best CEO that HUL could have ever got. And for me personally, the best podcast. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely a pleasure to have you at SapnaRise. For those of you who are listening and viewing this wonderful, wonderful session, there's so much more in the book that you can learn from. Believe me, the book has a lot to offer beyond what your management daily lessons can offer. And this book is not only for the CEOs of the world, but it's for young budding entrepreneurs, business leaders, maybe even college graduates, because it has more than 25 years of life lessons that you can take from. So thank you so much, Mr. Mehta. It was just fabulous to have you.
Real pleasure.